Good morning, mathematicians. Today we are going to be working more on building and multiplying polynomials. I wanted to give you another visual about how we come up with a final answer when we are multiplying polynomials. I want you to think back to when you were learning multiplication. Remember when I had 3 groups of 4, that meant I would draw a 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I have groups of 4. So I would go across 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it became a box because multiplication is repeated addition. Look, I've got 1 group of 4, 2 groups of 4, 3 groups of 4. We actually call this the area. And we call it the area model because it shows us the area. And if I count all of my squares, I get 12. Remember, we did the same thing for 2 times 5. You can even go across the top. So if I go 2 across the top, now remember, that's 2 groups of 5. So I have to go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I just complete my rectangle. And if I count these all up, I get a 10. Now remember, when we multiply, we are finding the area of the space. And I could do 6 times 9 too, but I think you guys get the idea. Let's go ahead and try this now with our polynomials. I am going to build area models with my polynomials. So first, notice that I have 3 groups of x plus 2. Now, remember, if you need to remember this as 3 groups of, that always helps me to know that I have 3 of them. So that means I have 3. That's the number 3. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my 3 down the side, my 3 ones. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to do my x plus 2. Okay, well, to do x plus 2, I have to do the x across. And then I have my 2. 1, 2. Now remember, multiplication is the area inside. So if I have my 3 and I'm multiplying that by x plus 2, now I'm going to go ahead and fill it in with all of the pieces that match. So notice that I'd have to put an x there to take up that space. I would have to put an x here to take up the space. And another x here to take up the space. And I have to get some 1s over here. I should have been prepped for this. How many 1s am I going to have to put in? Notice, and I want to show you, you guys don't always have to have your pieces. You can actually sketch them in too. I would have to have a 1 there, and a 1 here, and a 1 here, and 1 here, and 1 here. So notice when I multiply my 3 times my groups of x plus 2, what do I end up with on the inside? I end up with 3 x's, and I end up with 6 1s. So my answer is 3x plus 6, which kind of goes back to, remember, our arrow method. We can just multiply. Now I am starting very basic. I want to show you how this works with simple ones that we can build, because then you can apply what you've learned to later ones. So if you needed to, we could definitely draw all of them in. It helps us. Okay, now let's go ahead and do x times the quantity of x minus 3. Remember, this is x groups of x minus 3. Now, notice that my x is positive, so I'm going to go ahead and put a positive there. And I only have 1 x, so I'm just going to lay it there. Then my group of, remember, I am multiplying this, and I'm using a multiplying the dot just so we don't get our x's mixed up. Now, when I have that dot, I have a negative 3. So that means I need to have pink ones. I need to have my negative ones. Now, when I multiply across, if I have an x and an x, look at that large space. That is why we bring in our x squared. Right? Because x is x squared. It fills in that entire space. Now with my 1s, I need to fill in an entire x space, and I need to fill in a 1 space. But remember, that is a negative, so I actually have to bring over a negative 1, a negative x. And then I have another negative x. And notice that I have 1 more space. So I have a negative x. Okay, now remember, we need to remove, well, these were our factors. We don't want those in there. But let's count what we have now. notice that I have 1 x squared, and I have 3 negative x's. And that is our solution. Notice up here with my arrow method, I would have done x times x. How many x's do I have? I have 2. So next I have x times a negative 3. Well, since x's can't be combined with negative 3's, I actually have to just, remember there is a multiplication sign there. So I just bring them together, negative 3x. Now I want you to try a few of these on your own. You're welcome to use pieces, or you're welcome to just draw. You guys want to see an example of a drawing? Maybe I'll do a drawing too. Okay, so let me do a drawing. If you get it, you're welcome to pause the video and start your worksheet. Okay, so how would I sketch this? Let's do this. Let's do a 2x times the quantity of x minus 6. How would I sketch that? Notice that I have 2 x's. So I'm just going to draw my x bars. Right, my x bars. And then I'm going to multiply it by another x. And then what do I have here? I have 6 negative 1's. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now those are all negative, so I'm just going to put little negatives in there. Now, I could use my arrow method, or I can now go back in and fill in the spaces. Notice that my edges have to be the same shape of what I'm multiplying by. Then this one. Now when I go x times x, I do get x squared, x squared. Now what am I going to fill in here? Notice that I have a 1 here, but on this side I have an x, so I actually have to sketch in x's, and they're negative x's. How many am I going to have to put in? I have to put in quite a few. Now notice it's not perfect drawings. It's enough just to sketch it so I can see it. But notice I just keep going. You guys can just use straight lines if you want to. You don't even have to draw rectangles, as long as you know what you're working on. And these are all negatives. So my answer is, how many x squareds do I have? I have 2 x squareds. Then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 negatives, x's. 12 negative 12x. There you go. Notice our arrow method here. My 2 times x, I would keep the 2, because technically there's a 1 right here, right? X times x is x squared. And then 2x times 6, well remember 2 times negative 6 is a negative 12, and then the x is just hanging on there. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and start working on some of your own.